Welcome everybody to today's snapshot. I'm Krešimir, and today we will take a look at network services visualization. Now the topic is interesting, as if you ask a couple of people what exactly it means, the network service, well, for those who are laying the fiber optic cables, it means the whole structure underground, which is deployed from service location to another service location. If you ask optical transmission guys, they will tell you, well, those are lambdas that are going from side to side. And if you ask the IP MPLS guys, they will say, well, it's layer 2 and layer 3 services that we provide. So now that's a complex question, but the answer, or let's say the group to which I will focus most, is the providing of IP MPLS services, layer 2 and layer 3 VPN. So when we open the web portal and go to inventory overview, what we see, there is a button called Network Service Analyzer. So those are the services which are being directly discovered on the network from the network devices, starting with the routing protocols. So the routing protocols itself basically form the basic elements which are needed to be fully operational when it comes to providing a service. So we see we have BGP services, we have ISIS routing protocols, we have layer 2 VPNs, layer 3 VPNs, OSPF protocols. Let's try to go deeper into a BGP session and BGP protocol. That is for now the internal process that takes part within the service provider network. What we see here are the neighbors and all the devices that form the service provider network and are sharing the customer prefixes and are, I would say, the basic for providing layer 2 and layer 3 VPN services. This is quite a nice view because it shows the peers in this BGP autonomous system number. If we would like to have something like that always available, what we can do is click here and create a specific weather map for, let's say, our network operations center. And immediately we will be able to see the real-time status of those devices and VPN or BGP service. But this might not be enough for troubleshooting. What we can do furthermore is to create a specific dashboard here, which would, for example, have more details. So besides seeing all the devices and their peerings between themselves, we are also able to see the real-time state of each of those peerings. So what we see, well, basically everything is healthy. We can check what is this status changed over time. We can add additional information here, so we can check, are the BGP peers being updated with the new information or not, and so on. So this is quite useful for basically troubleshooting the service provider network. But then, okay, let's go one step forward. We said BGP, we need to have this in terms of providing the service, but the system also automatically discovers things like layer 3 VPN service. So if we click here, what we are able to see are the devices which take part in this specific layer 3 VPN. So what do we see here? We see 3 provider edge routers, which are sharing the routes from the customer sites, and we see the links towards the endpoints or towards the customer enterprise customer equipment. So this view is also nice because it can show you for a specific VPN which interfaces are being used and which routers are being used as a provider edge devices within the service provider networks. But let's say we want also to have a little bit more information. So what we will do is we will be able to have, let's say, we have created a specific weather map which shows our entire network. Let me just try to have a better view here. So we have a service provider network there. And we also see the CPE devices this time. So not only the protocol side, we also see the underlying physical network. These devices are service provider devices. These 6 CPE devices represent the customer premises devices. So if I have a good system of tagging and I want to check which devices are taking part in a specific layer 3 VPN, what I can do is here create a specific tag which will filter the devices which take part in this VPN. So here I'm able to tell something like device customer ID equals 1131. We will remember that was the same ID that we used on the network protocol level. If I do that, I'm able to see all the CPE devices that are used within this layer 3 VPN. But okay, maybe I want to troubleshoot more. Maybe I want also to see the provider edge devices, so those devices that are directly in charge of providing the service. So let's go again to the text and say, okay, but also include those devices on which interface customer ID equals to the same number. So I have either the CPE devices or I have the devices which are on service provider edge and provide the customer to this L3 VPN. So when I click that, I'm immediately able to see the provider side, so 3 PE devices and 3 CPE devices. So this gives me quite a nice overview of the service which is being provided. I can check the bandwidth utilization. I can immediately jump to a specific device if I need to troubleshoot more. Let me check what are the alarms there and so on. So there is a configuration status, policy check. Okay, it's not so much related to the service. This gives us the opportunity to see all the devices that take part in the service delivery, not counting the whole core network. This is quite simplified view, but then again, we can always transform those tags into the base filters, and we are also able then to select those from the menu. So imagine that you have different filters, and this weather map will always show you the specific customer L3 VPN or L2 VPN service. These filters, of course, can be expanded to include a certain region or a certain site. So basically, this enables us to see not to go or not to see the entire network, but just to filter the elements which are responsible for the service. But then, okay, what if, let me show you another feature. So what if we want to see it in the geomap? So I have a lot of devices there. But which of those are used for delivering this specific L3 VPN. But what we can do is apply the same filter that I created here. So that would include both CPEs and PE devices. And what you will see, those are exactly those 6 devices that I have shown on the weather map. So you can use this view. I can show, of course, that devices in the table here. Those are the same devices visible in the weather map. And I can also turn on the links. If you noticed, those are the same links that appear on the weather map. So this is another view, and it's useful if you want to visualize the services within the geomap. And finally, there is also something called Service Analyzer available in Rich Client, which takes care about the more complex services. So those services which are not automatically discovered on devices because their structure consists of multiple sub-services. So as an example, I have a service, business service, which goes from one CPE and its interface to another device and its corresponding interface. But the structure in between, so there could be multiple nodes in between. What this customer service held basically is dependent on the sub-services. So the routing protocols, ISIS, secondary ISIS, third ISIS, BGP service, and at the end, internet service between devices determine if this service is operational, fully operational. So what we can see as well is that's the business service, but I can expand and I see, to reach from one device to the other end of a service, I need to cross 1, 2, 3, 4 devices. And service to be operational, it requires this Ethernet segment to be operational. That one requires routing protocol to be operational. That one, and BGP as well. So I can also say, this routing protocol will not work if underlying Ethernet segment is not working. So I can further expand to the Ethernet segments, also for this ISIS routing and for BGP. Now we see 1, 2, 3, 4 hops to this other service endpoint. I can also take a different look, the neighborhood look. So let me open the legend so you will see a little bit better. So the service is running between those two devices, those two endpoints, but for it to be operational, it relies on the underlying routing protocols and Ethernet segments. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4 hops until we reach the other side. Those other nodes are there for the redundancy because it's possible that the service might go there in case of the problems. Okay, so that was the brief introduction to network services visualization.